Hello there, YouTube. This is Debo at Debo's Film Reviews, and I'm about to review Stroker Ace, starring Burt Reynolds, Jim Nabors, Ned Beatty, Lonnie Anderson, and Bubba Smith. Directed by Hal Needham. And when it comes to car movies in the 80s and 70s, Hal Needham was the man. I mean, he made Smokey and Bandit, Hooper, and this. I'm kind of ashamed this movie was considered a flop, though, in the 80s, because I consider it a masterpiece. And an old epic masterpiece. I mean, come on. So epic, it should have been made in 3D, because, like, at the end of the Charlotte race, when Stroker drives that fence and goes upside down after, and I should also mention Parker Stevenson as Ari James, who was Stroker's racing rival. I like his ride, he burns the Tom Cruise's Toll Trickle, which that's for another review. And of course, a lot of excellent cameos and appearances by NASCAR people like Dale Sr., Neil Bonnet, Tim Richmond, of course Harry Gant, because at the time Burt Reynolds and Hal Needham also owned a race team, which Harry Gant drove for him. Though ironically, in the movie, Stroker Ace drove a Ford while Harry Gant was a Buick. But I gotta say, gotta love the way the cars looked back them days. I gotta say that was back when Buick was a powerhouse in the racing circuit. I mean, those Grand Nationals, talking about one of the greatest race cars ever made. But Stroker Ace, an excellent movie. It should have been made, and I hadn't already mentioned, should have been made in 3D because of what way the wrecks and stuff were perfectly captured and all. I mean, come on. Even of course, even got a feature the Jim Nabors as Lux Harvey. You can't get any more redneck than that, having Gomer Pyle as your crew chief and Burt Reynolds driving a race car. And of course, you got to give Ned Beatty an excellent credit as the crooked and conniving Clyde Torkel. And even the funnier scenes, like of course, with the main gimmick of this movie was Stroker Ace racing in a chicken suit, which for frankly was only in the Talladega racing part in the movie. You know, after the beginning of the movie where he's in the Daytona 500, I can say, which brings an excellent point of at the beginning when he shows him as a kid, and his buddy's dad was also tags along where he's on a moonshine, tags along with his buddy and his dad on a moonshine because his buddy Doc, who was mentioned later on in the movie, also was being a moonshine runner. You gotta say, now that is an excellent nod to NASCAR, showing its roots and all, and especially with Stroker's theme by the great Charlie Daniels starting to play. And woo, talk about an excellent opening and soundtrack moment. And personally, I can say one of my top five Charlie Daniels songs. And of course, a nod to Lonnie Anderson playing Pembroke Feeney, who's all Miss Girl Scout and all, and didn't drink, Sunday school teacher, and in real life at the time was Burt Reynolds' main squeeze, which made an excellent acting pairing. Even some funny scenes with her, like a nod to 7-Year Itch at the beginning, where drivers and crews were trying to mess the shop, get a leaf blower shot back after her trying to pull that scene. And then I have to mention a lot of excellent use of cameos for a NASCAR film. I mean, the late great Neil Bonnet and the late great Dale Earnhardt Sr. How about epic, along with Ricky Rudd, Kyle Petty, Tim Richmond, or should I say Hollywood Tim. Although unsurprising, Darrell Waltrip hadn't appeared in it, didn't cameo too, because Anybody knows about racing knows about him knows that his nickname was Jaws because he always liked to run his mouth to reporters and such. Ooh, talking about the racing choreography, epic. The comedy, epic. Soundtrack, all off the bat, I'm going to name Stroker's Theme by Charlie Daniels as a top. I don't know if you were Marshall Tucker in there. You got to give it to him because, and of course Bubba Smith as Arnold the chauffeur. He was always just hanging around and had like a funny scene when Stroker and Lugs had to have it, just decided just to piss off the boss. Tried to go in the chase to an autograph signing and lose him, and then Arnold the chauffeur tries to chase on and then drifts right into a police picnic, right into a lake. Talk about how not to drift and why Cadillacs don't make good drift vehicles. Woo! Needless to say, I'm gonna already say this. Stroker Race, you damn right I'm giving it a 5 out of 5. Because it's a masterpiece. I mean, the racing scenes are epic. The acting's epic. I don't know how it became a flop. All of that. Although there was a kind of a questionable scene with Burt Reynolds and Lonnie Anderson in that movie, but kind of been one of the only flaws in it, besides I was mentioned the lack of a Darryl Waltrip cameo. Which, I mean, come on. That was even for the 80s, that was kind of a bit much. But then again, the 80s brought us the toy, which we'll get to that probably get to that later on. Overall, Stroker Race, and you got to give it to the cameos of also not only the drivers and future commentators like Benny Parsons and all, but you also got to give it to Cale Yarborough, who made himself kind of a big name in the media because at the time, not only being a championship driver and all, but he also teamed up with the only driver to appear on the Dukes. Actually, scratched that because there's also Terry Labonte who also had a cameo in the movie and also in a 2-part episode of Dukes of Hazzard, which kind of a blink and you'll miss moment. And overall, man, the 80s when it comes kind of a great soundtrack, great music, and great racing. And of course, you got to give it to the commentators. I mean, like Ken Squire, Chris Economaki. Surprised Ned Jarrett wasn't also in this too, because like I mentioned in the last American Hero review, that man's the white Morgan Freeman when it comes to commentary. And an excellent commentator and an excellent driver too. But Chris Economaki could knock it out back in the day. Could knock it out of the park. Ooh. And got David Hobbs, pretty much the only British announcer, most well-known British racing announcer, and a former sports car driver himself. But overall, and of course, you got to give it another cameo was, I mean, come on, Elvira. I mean, you ain't the 80s without Elvira in there. You know how she just tries to pick up Lugs Harvey and all. I gotta give, like I already mentioned, Jim Nabors. He did an excellent performance, which is kind of fitting given he was known as Gomer Pyle, the Mayberry mechanic. Which was also fitting for a NASCAR movie. I mean, contrary to the critics of it back in the day, Stroker Race should have got Oscars for best directing, for at least best picture and best directing. And the overall masterpiece of anybody who's a car guy. Don't have to be an NASCAR fan to appreciate this, but it sure helps. And overall, I already, like I said, a 5 out of 5. Enjoy. For the fact, it's also based on a book called Stand On It. according to credits. And also gotta mention a funny scene. With, at the Charlotte race where they had the jacks broke, and and you got middle Bo Smith, a big dude and all, had to lift a car up and beat a jack. And I've mentioned the chicken suit. I mean, even had his own race car painted up like a plucked chicken. Talk about how to get out of a sponsorship in 90 minutes. I mean, come on. I mean, a great movie of Burt's and car enthusiast for car enthusiast fan base in general. I mean, Hal Needham knew how to pander to that base. And of course, also an excellent performance for Parker Stevenson as R.B. James, who was basically like the Rowdy Burns of the film. And excellent rival, though. Ironically, how I mentioned that Burt Reynolds owned the Buick team, yet drove a Ford, while R.B. James drove a Buick. I meant to say. And also an excellent scene where Burt just throws him into a hotel pool, just cutting up with, and see where he's just cutting up with Earnhardt and Ricky Rudd and Kyle Petty. And fun fact about Ricky Rudd, he's also Skeet Ulrich's uncle. Overall, as I already mentioned, 5 out of 5. 5 out of 5. Enjoy.